Welcome back to Africa This Morning. We are now on Table Talk, and today we have an inspirational interview with Dr. Stanley Kamau, who is the head and the founder of the Jigger campaign. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you too.
I'm going to just put myself on the table. I had told you earlier that I thought it was a 4-year campaign. You corrected me and said 7 years. Let's start with the invisible 3 years, which we don't know about.
What I can say is that we started this campaign in the year 2007. But we've actually worked for only 3 years, because the 4 years was about trying to fight the stakeholders. We were trying to have a lot of fights with the provincial administrators who thought that we are embarrassing the communities, the public health who felt that we are undermining their jobs, the politicians who actually thought that we are trying to launch our political platform, the communities who believed that jiggers is about laziness and myths and curses, and also trying to fight like almost everyone to get a foot into the campaign. But for the last 3 years, it's been successful, and it's been very, very smooth.
And those are the challenges that actually inspired the writing of the book, The Jiggered Mind. I love that title so much. I'm not going to get too excited to touch on it now, but we're going to touch on, you see, there's a time when someone starts an initiative.
Yeah.
You pick on something and you run with it. Why jiggers? And how did you get to that point? You said, jigger is the issue and I'll tackle it. And I don't know how far it will take me, but I'm in for the long haul.
To be very honest, I didn't think, like most Kenyans do today, that jiggers was a big issue. I thought that it's something that had already been dealt with and forgotten. But I started community work in the year 2000. After settling down in business, and I decided that it's the best time to give back to the community.
Yeah.
So I started educating my villagers. I started helping them with foodstuffs, clothing, shoes, and such other things. But I didn't think they had other problems apart from maybe lack of food and such small other issues. But in one of the events, when I visited, I was feeding the pupils, and I was also feeding the elderly. And I could realize that some of the people who are very, very poor in the village were not able to attend the feeding sessions. So when I asked about it, and I was told that they cannot be able to walk to the feeding center because they have jiggers. And I thought about paying them a visit, going to see how those jiggers have affected them, not even be able to walk. And what I found, I met about 4 families, and I decided it's time to help the 4 families. But I didn't know it goes beyond the 4 families. But I can tell you, after starting with the 4 families, then the other villages started coming in, talking about the same problem. It went the boundaries, it went to the constituency level, it went to the district level. Many other districts also joined in. It became a national campaign, and then other countries, Uganda, Tanzania, Rwanda, Burundi, started asking for the same, and it became a huge campaign.
The huge campaign cannot fund itself. How did you overcome the reality that, one, even as you're commuting from one village to the next, it demands money. You're going beyond giving food and giving emotional support. Now you're actually dealing with a medical issue.
What I can tell you is that when I found a problem, and this is something maybe that even people who would want to start project they should do, is that you should not come up with an organization without knowing what you want to do. When I found that we have jiggers in the country, I decided I must get a platform to raise about the issue of jiggers. And that's when I brought my friends, business partners together, and we decided that we are going to be chipping in some money.
So you just got like-minded
with people
peers,
and we decided that we form Ahadi Kenya as an organization where we can be putting little money to help the communities. We actually didn't think at one time we'll be writing proposals to people. We thought that if we contribute 50 or 100,000 a month as friends, we can be able to help our village. And as I told you, I didn't think it would go beyond my village. Yes. So I was very sure by our contributions as friends, we can be able to help. But I realized and I decided that maybe what I have found in my village would be a problem also in other people's villages. And that's why I brought in Cecilia, because I called on the so-called celebrities and I asked them, what they have in their villages, I actually thought everybody in Nairobi goes back to their roots. And I was very shocked to realize that most people don't even look back where they came from. So we decided to call on a workshop for the celebrities, media personalities, beauty queens, and tell them about the problem I've seen in my village, and also share with them maybe the problems in their villages, and see what can be done to uplift the lives of Kenyans. And that's when I highlighted to them about the issue of jiggers in Murang'a, in my village, and they didn't seem shocked. It's only Cecilia who seemed interested in that. And when we went with her to the ground, she actually volunteered after seeing how the people are suffering to be the voice, and then she became the campaign ambassador. And then later, she became a director of Ahadi Kenya.
Share with us media response. By the time you're getting celebrities in, the media is now tweaking its ear. What's happening there?
Yeah.
How did the media respond, and how have they journeyed so far?
Then that's why I have written this book, because when Cecilia came on board, we had a lot of resistance. Apart now from fighting the other people on the ground, then you have to start fighting the peers who started posting bad stories about her, how she wants just to be relevant, how she's just looking for cheap publicity. And this is what I've called on my book, the jiggered mind. These are the people who are not able to see far. They are only seeing Cecilia as a person. They are not looking at Cecilia, what she can do.
As a vehicle of
campaign. Yeah, of change in our community. And it doesn't matter whether you're looking for publicity or not. If you are impacting in somebody's life, I think it's important for people to acknowledge what you are doing. Yeah.
That's powerful. Did the media respond positively? Were we supportive?
Initially, I can say the media jumped on board, not because of the campaign, but because of Cecilia talking about jiggers. And most of them laughed it off, and they thought it's another publicity stunt. But after going to the ground, the media jumped in and they realized that actually it's a problem. And when the politicians started now hitting back at us, so the media got the stories and they were able to convince that this is actually true. And you know, the media and politicians, they all compete. So when the politicians deny, the media proves that it's not actually true. And that's how we got to raise the awareness. Yeah.
When you come to looking at the initiative 7 years on, it has gained traction. It has moved beyond the Kenyan boundaries. And even now, the grandmother of the United States President, Sarah Obama, has taken up the initiative in her home to push forward the agenda. Share with us how many people have come on board, even as you've gone along, leaders within the community.
What I can say is that we have many other organizations that have come on board. What they don't know is what we went through. For them to have the freedom today to highlight the issue of jiggers independently and freely without being accused.
You're speaking like a soldier.
Yeah, because they don't know how and what we have gone through. We have gone through a lot to make sure that this issue is spoken in public. Before, they could not have done it. Even Sarah Obama could not have talked about jiggers in Siaya. It took us to fight and to bring the government on board and to bring many other stakeholders, especially all the government organs, for people to have the freedom to talk about this issue. And so far, I can tell you we have more than 100 organizations that have already taken the anti-jigger campaign or the jigger project as part of their projects, especially the ones that are doing humanitarian work. And that's one of the successes that we have been able to achieve. We have been able to penetrate and people can talk about this issue openly and without feeling ashamed and without the communities feeling embarrassed. Yeah.
When it comes to expanding your project to, as you've mentioned, over 100 other organizations, are you offering support, for example, best practices, giving them lessons that you learned before so that they are not in the same trail that you had treaded before, making mistakes, dealing with confrontation with legislators?
What I can tell you is that most of the organizations that have on board is that some of them have come with a long impression that many organizations and many civil society groups in Kenya, they think there's so much money in every project. But Ahadi Kenya is one of the projects that actually has got no foreign donor aid. We realize that this is a Kenyan problem that can be solved by Kenyans themselves. Ahadi Kenya has got no workers. No one is salaried in Ahadi Kenya. We all volunteer our services into the organization, and we don't depend so much on cash. We like asking people to give us their services. We rely so much on volunteers. We have about now 43 offices in Kenya, 2 in Tanzania, 1 in Uganda. And these are run by volunteers and most of these people, and social workers. And most of these people don't earn anything. They have just a commitment to the community. And what Ahadi Kenya is doing now is we're trying to create capacity for all other organizations, because jiggers close all other projects. Like if you are talking about education, you cannot fully implement proper education if people and pupils are still infested with jiggers, because they can't walk to school. When they're in school, they cannot concentrate. So any organizations that's dealing with the issue of education must first of all eradicate jiggers. If you talk about disability, jiggers are causing a lot of disability in this country. So you cannot fully implement disability efforts without highlighting the issue of jiggers. So you must remove jiggers from people for them not to be disabled. If you talk about democracy and governance in this country, when people cannot be able to walk or even to be able to put thumbprints, they cannot be able to vote, they have never been involved in the implementation of the new constitution, you cannot actually say that you are succeeding without addressing the issue of jiggers. So all these organizations, we are bringing them together, giving them capacity of how they can be able to manage and deal with the issue of jiggers. And many other organizations, church groups, school clubs, and other organized community groups. So we bring them together, do the capacity. We don't give them money because we don't have it, but we show them how they can be able to treat and manage the jigger infestation. Yeah.
Let's get to my passion moment right here, the jiggered mind. You've just touched on a little bit earlier when you were mentioning the fact that legislators were standing in your way, the fact that the media was laughing it off like a publicity stunt. Give us the breakdown of what inspired the writing of the book. At what point did you get to that moment and you said, actually, I've learned a lot, let me put it down on paper?
What I realized is that most of the times issues of jiggers, issues of other community problems are highlighted, especially in the media. When you sit down with people, they all keep on saying that someone should do something. They don't take as it is their responsibility as the Kenyan people or as a human being to take the step and see what can I do to support what I have seen happen in the community. And for the people who would want to do something and help, why I wrote this book is because people may think that you are doing the communities a favor by helping them. But it's in the contrary, is that some people would block any efforts for the poor people to be helped. There are some people who want to retain the status quo. They want it to be there forever. And there are some people out there who are actually entrusted in helping the people, in trying to uplifting the people's lives, but they are the same people who would block you from doing anything that is good. When we started the campaign, I thought that the issue of jiggers only affects the feet and the hands, and these are the people who actually need the help. But I realized that the leadership and those stakeholders in the community, stakeholders actually have got a bigger jigger in their minds, and that's why I realized that they have a jiggered mind. And hence the title, A Jiggered Mind, in this book.
Powerful.
And if we are not able to remove that jigger in these people's minds, we are not going to help the communities come out of poverty, diseases, disability, and other social ills. Because the jiggered mind is the one that is blocking all these efforts to help and to reach people. These are the people who distort facts. For someone to die because of hunger, that somebody must have had gone for days without food. Does it mean that we don't have any community leaders in that area? Does it mean that we don't have any church elders in that area? Don't we have their friends? Don't we have relatives? Don't we have other people who carry out community work? Don't we have civil society organization? And these are the people I'm talking about. Because of their jiggered minds, they don't see the problem. They don't see beyond. They just see where they are seated, and they don't see beyond the communities.
Have you managed to have converts?
We have, and actually the other day I was talking to the civil society groups, and what I realized is that even when we were going all through this, the people that we thought they would help us, and one of the things that you realize is that jigger is one of the biggest human rights abuser, because when people cannot be able to go to their normal lives, then it's the biggest human rights abuser. And the civil society groups in this country were not there even that time when we were being fought. And I was telling them that the Wajiko they fight for one day will not be there. The Wajiko they fight for would have disappeared because of hunger. The Wajiko they fight for would have disappeared because of poverty. The Wajiko they fight for would have disappeared because of disability. And they'll have no Wajiko to demonstrate on their behalf on the streets of Nairobi. What they have done is that they have this mentality of, I call it PowerPoint mentality, where everything has to be done in the boardroom. As we don't do that, we don't hold boardroom meetings. We go to the ground and do the work there. So I challenge them to move out of city center, go to where the problems are, and highlight those problems. Otherwise, in another few months or years, they'll have to look for an Akinyi, a Mwende to fight for, because the Wajiko would have died a long time ago.
I doubt it. But we'll be following up with you also at Ahadi Kenya to just cover so many stories and the initiatives that you're covering in the country. Finally, 7 years on, what keeps you going? What motivates you? What makes you wake up every day and say, Ahadi Kenya is still an organization I want to represent?
One thing that makes me wake up every morning is that we have achieved a lot. And especially now, you know, in the whole of Africa, people are aware of the anti-jigger campaign. Other countries, they're also aware. They come here to learn more about jiggers. That makes me very, very proud that I have highlighted the issue of jiggers. The stigma that was associated with the jigger infestation has actually greatly reduced. People can openly discuss it. We've had more than 250 people who have actually fully recovered, rehabilitated, and the children are back to school, and the men and women are back to work. We have actually realized that jiggers is caused by poverty, because if you don't have anything to buy food, if you don't have a basin, you have no soap, you have no water, you don't even have a good house. All these are brought up by poverty. You get up infested with jiggers. So what we have done, we have started agriculture and livestock farming for these people who have recovered from jiggers. And I can tell you now today that we have groups in this country who are earning money and even having bank accounts, and they have formed community-based organizations, and they are also now, in a way, supporting from the money they get from their agricultural activities. They are supporting Ahadi Kenya by giving part of that money also to fight the jigger menace. This is sustainable, and they are able to do that. And I can tell you that for the last 7 years, we have been recognized not only in Kenya, but globally. And you know, recently we launched the shoe drive. Now we have more than 10 million pairs of shoes to distribute to all the schools in Kenya. We are going to make sure that no child goes to school without new shoes. No child walks barefoot, because this is one of the ways of preventing jigger infestation. And there are so many other things that have happened that when I see young men who are initially jigger infested getting married and settling down. We have seen children now, like during the last KCPE, who have performed very well. This keeps me going. But, and this is what I have done in the book, that these are the things that has ashamed the jiggered mind. And for anyone who is intending to start a project and for it to succeed, you must have a passion for what you do. Because
regardless of the challenges you face.
We are not in this because of money. Don't go to do community work because of money. And don't look at finances. And then you must be able to sacrifice. I can tell you for the first 4 years, because even the politicians had poisoned the corporates. They were saying that we are embarrassing, we are using the money for political gains. We didn't have people, even corporates that we use today to support this organization. So our directors, even me, we had to sell a lot of our properties, assets to sustain the project. So you must sacrifice. But more importantly is that all those fights, I don't even know how I got out of it, but you must put God first.
That's a very powerful,
you must
powerful
put
way
God
to
first,
end.
because every time I was fought, every time I was chased away, I told God, the battle belongs to you. Me, I'm just in the army. So you know whether we are going to win or we are going to lose. And they have won. And again,
You're going on.
Yeah,
Yeah.
And finally, it's very important that you always avoid negative people. You must get rid of negative people who say that you cannot succeed, people who show you negative things at the end of the road. You should always have a focus, put your goals first, get to know what you want to achieve. And also, I keep on saying, and I've said it in this book, in the last 2 paragraphs, you see that I've said, and to the people who criticize you, to your enemies, always do a letter, but never post it. Keep it.
I tell you, we could get another interview from your quotes just as we end. Is this in the bookshops? Can someone acquire it from the bookshops?
We are trying to negotiate with the supermarkets to see whether they can be able to stock it. But right now, if somebody would go to Ahadi Kenya website, you can get information on how you can be able to get that book. And also, it's on Amazon online. You can buy one from there.
Okay.
Yeah.
This is a discussion we'll be having with you severally. We'll journey with you until the hilt.
No
Thank you
problem.
so much
I'm
for affording us
available.
this one interview at this point. This is an initial, and it's great to have a copy of The Jiggered Mind. You'll catch that copy the moment it's published. That was our inspirational interview here on Table Talk on Africa this morning. Thank you so much for joining us. Share your thoughts on our YouTube and our Twitter and Facebook pages at the bottom of your screen. It will be great to hear from you. I've been your host, Beryl Ooro. Enjoy the rest of your viewing.